Good morning. Welcome to Community Focus, a show dedicated to exploring the personalities, issues, and events of interest to southeastern Wisconsin. I'm your host, Matt Nye. Our guest today is Rachel Werner. She is TOPS Nutrition and Fitness Editor. So, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you for having me on, Matt.
We are a species that likes to be on the go, and certainly as we think vacation, it is often a challenge to eat healthy while we are traveling, and yet it's something that we attempt to do, but maybe not with all the greatest success. Before we get into that topic, tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up a nutrition and fitness editor.
Oh, I would love to. So I am a fitness professional. I'm also a certified holistic nutritionist. I have worked in the fitness industry for well over a decade now as a model, a group fitness exercise instructor. I'm a certified yoga instructor, mindfulness practitioner. I have taught just about everything except for like the Les Mis body pump series.
Yeah.
I also don't do TRX or spin. And I also used to work for a women's lifestyle magazine. And so I have this kind of, my background all meshed together between writing and nutrition and fitness and exercise because, fitness, it's also including, we always think workouts, but there's also that mental fitness component that I think gets lost, and that kind of fits into the thing what we're talking about too in regards to like, how do you keep yourself on track on your wellness journey, even when you're away from home?
It is often the fact when we go ahead and finally get away that we enter immediately that kind of treat yourself mentality, and we tend to maybe drink too much, we eat too much. How can we celebrate and yet not let food be such an obsession, and in particular, unhealthy food?
So I think it's okay, right, to have food be a part of your travel experience, or even if you're not away from home, even if you're doing like a staycation, right? I mean, there's a lot of joy to be found in not only just the food itself, but the preparation of the meals or finding restaurants to explore for all of our foodies out there, or even just having that time to come together with friends and family, neighbors and coworkers, and, and just that's an experience, right? A lot of the times the reasons like we end up overeating or over drinking is because we kind of have these festive moments that go on for hours, right? So I don't want to villainize the concept of finding joy in food. But like you just said, Matt, you need to think about, okay, what are the choices that I'm making, right? Like, okay, like does it need to always be something fried? Like, do we need to go out for burgers? Maybe it's stir fried. Maybe it's that, again, instead of going out to eat a lot while you're away from home, the focus is more, we're going to come together and we're going to prepare meals together as well. Because I think a lot of times that's where people struggle with, especially if you have particular dietary needs, like you're not supposed to have too much sodium or you have to watch like added sugars. That gets harder to do the more times you're eating out. So I think also just remembering that there are ways to to mitigate, like you said, the moderation, right? It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
You introduced earlier that health and wellness, it's not just a physical, it's a mental, emotional. When you look at the pie chart that makes up a healthy lifestyle, what percentages are you giving to diet, things like sleep, our social network, our ability to exercise? What's the biggest bang for our buck in that pie chart that is a healthy lifestyle?
Oh, movement and sleep, 100%. I
Yeah.
think we spend so much time, no, I'm serious, we spend so much time focusing on food, and I'm not saying it's not important, and I definitely want to just advocate if you have particular dietary needs, if you have a health condition that you are trying to, be cognizant of and improve, nutrition may be at the top of the list for you in certain circumstances. But I feel on average for most people, you'd be amazed just how by finding ways to sneak more movement into your day, whether you're at home or you're away from home, it is huge. Like you're traveling. Like I love the idea that, that can be gentle stretching in the morning. I think honestly everybody should stretch. I think if you're over the age of probably like 15 or 18, you should probably stretch before you get going in the daytime, and then maybe even two before bed, but then sneaking in like walks, bicycle rides, swimming. It doesn't always have to be, I think we get in this idea about exercising, and it has to be, I'm going to a gym and I'm lifting weights and I'm running, and doing cardio on machines, or I'm meeting with a personal trainer. Those things are all great if you have the time and the capacity and the budget for that. But there's a lot of things that we can do just to increase daily movement in our life. Like the woman who does my hair, actually, last week I had an appointment, and she had told me that she was so proud of herself because one of the simplest things that she's done in her day now is just even at work, she is being cognizant about taking the stairs, right, instead of taking the elevator. And just between that and tweaking her intake for food a little bit, she's lost like 10 pounds in the last month.
You,
Just because,
yeah, that's amazing. That's truly amazing. You mentioned movement is probably not the first word that comes to mind. People might say exercise. So you definitely led with movement and sleep. Why do you say movement in particular over what we might think of as got to get more exercise?
Because, like I said, the movement, right? I mean, we move our bodies in so many different ways. Like one of the things we're really we try to focus on with TOPS as an organization is realizing that we have members that are all of ages and backgrounds and accessibility in terms of what they're capable of in terms of like physical movement. So, cleaning your house, vacuuming is a form of movement. Gardening is a form of movement, right? So again, and this is why I love, not that, I want people to get obsessed with numbers by any means, but that's why I think it'd be great when you have like a fitness tracker, like something like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, is because you actually start to see, you don't have to necessarily go out, and like people get obsessed with getting in like the 5,000 or 10,000 steps, but like the example I just gave, just by like choosing to park like, maybe further back in the parking lot of a grocery store, right? Maybe you park toward the back. Little things like that are ways, again, just to increase the movement in our day. We have such a sedentary lifestyle here in the United States, that it's just we don't move our bodies enough. It doesn't always have to be exercise. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I've worked in the fitness industry for years, and I love exercise, right, in so many different forms. But I also, I have an animal. Even just walking our pets, right, getting our dogs outside. Some people even put their cats on leashes. So I just really always like to encourage people to expand their mindset in terms of like what counts as movement, because I think sometimes that's the biggest hurdle for people making healthy changes in regards to like quote unquote increasing how much fitness is a part of their lifestyle, is because there's just so many types of exercises either that they don't really enjoy or that they feel intimidated by. I mean, it's, even though, I'm somebody who runs, but I understand that a lot of people where they hear like, oh my gosh, like 3 miles, like a 5K can sound like a lot when, if you haven't had to run a mile since you were like in elementary school.
When you talk about, movement in particular, and I know we kind of led with the idea of being on vacation. And if you're just joining us, we're talking with Rachel Werner. She's the TOPS Nutrition and Fitness Editor. So we have to pay our dues in travel, which means we're often on long plane rides or maybe a long ride in the car. How can we make movement a part of what might be 2 days of essentially sitting just to get to our destination?
Well, this is where the stretching comes in, like I remembered, right? Like if you get that stretches in the morning when you stop at the rest stop in your car, I do that all the time, especially like on longer road trips. It's good to get out just to like stretch your legs. Maybe you do a walk around the rest stop or the gas station just to only, just that fresh air, just reset yourself again. I know I kind of briefly said sleep, but again, that's also a form of rest. I think also that people think of, it doesn't have to be like you're pounding the pavement. Airlines are another big one. I'm not great about being able to sleep on planes, but I think if you're someone who knows, like, okay, this, airports, like I see people just like walking around airports, right? Even like almost like they're shopping, but not really, right?
Right.
It's like you just get up and kind of walk up and down the tarmac, not taking like the escalator belt, but that kind of way, especially like if you end up getting stuck or you have a layover, I've definitely had that count for my exercise. It's like, all right, I'm just going to turn my Apple Watch on and I'm just going to walk. I'm just going to kill up like 20 to 30 minutes now that I'm going to be stuck here for an extra hour.
When we travel, sleep is another thing that we often go ahead and neglect, whether we're in a strange bed or, again, we're trying our best to sleep in an uncomfortable plane seat. How can we embrace seat or embrace the seat, but embrace sleep when we are trying to sleep?
Yeah, so this is like I said, sleep is huge because when we're tired, we don't make the best choices because our brains aren't functioning very well, right? So, I mean, that happens not even when you're traveling, but when you're at home too, So when you're tired, you don't feel like cooking. You just want the quickest, fastest thing. So that can throw off your nutritional choices. In regards to movement, I mean, if you are exhausted, not only physically, but mentally too, who wants to go move in any way, shape, or right? You're trying to do as little as possible because you're just fatigued.
Mm,
So sleep, set alarm reminders before bed, and I think that can also be helpful when you're on vacation. Like I have one on my phone that just again, I don't always listen to it perfectly. You know what I mean? You always
right.
have free will. So I mean, the alarm going off, the little buzzer on your notification on your phone, you still have to choose to go to bed at that time. But you'd be amazed how little things like that can be helpful because it's just like, oh yeah, you know what? It's 12:30 or it's 10 p.m., whatever your schedule is. Some people are more just night owls by nature, but just that reminder, like if I'm serious about trying to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, then by this time, and I know I have to be up at this particular time the next morning, whether it's to go to work or catch a flight, or we have to start our drive back home, then you're more likely, like I said, if you just set those reminders to be like, okay, I need to start making my way to bed.
So, in particular, the mission of TOPS, and I should say TOPS is an acronym that stands for Take Off Pounds Sensibly. With this group that you're an editor of, and obviously a nutritionist and fitness expert, this group has a particular mission. How do you approach taking off pounds sensibly, as the name implies?
So for us, it's really TOPS is about healthy lifestyle, right? Like you're not, people can get really focused on the weight loss part, which again, depending on what's going on health-wise for you, that could be really important and an immediate concern. But the reality is there's so many ways, especially in our modern society, that you can, quote unquote, take weight off quickly. But that often ends up not being sustainable. And you can see all the research, even from people who've been on shows like Biggest Loser, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it just doesn't stick. Whether you're able to keep it off for, it might be 6 months, it might be a year, but oftentimes the weight, when it's not sustainable changes, when you haven't basically figured out ways that you like to move, that you enjoy, foods that you like to cook, recipes, maybe if you're living in a household where you're the only person and not everyone else is on board with it, or you're someone who has to travel a lot for work. So it's really until you can kind of think about, it's not just about a quick fix. It's about finding new habits and behaviors that really fit with our lifestyle and foods that we eat and exercise and we enjoy, and in a community. So that's the other part that people get with TOPS, is that it's a community. You have a community of people around you who have similar goals as you, and not necessarily for the same reasons, and they maybe not have the same, you know what I mean? And you don't know if that, some people have been around and a part of the community for 7 months. Some people it's been 2 weeks. Some people it's been 20 years. But then also you have someone that you have, not even just one person, but multiple people that you can connect with, whether it's in person at chapter meetings or online, on social media, or in online virtual chapter meetings. Just kind of talk about the challenges and where you're at. Sometimes we get great ideas from our members too. Someone's like, hey, you know what? I've really figured out how to control A, B, and C in my nutritional needs, but I still don't really know how to get enough fiber. Or I realize that I'm still struggling to figure out how to get more protein now that I've decided to become vegetarian or vegan, or so that so I think having just real people that you can connect with at real time is a huge resource, and just support when you need it.
You mentioned the social aspect, and it makes exercise more fun. It makes accountability partners for when we want to go ahead and maybe not make healthy choices. What is the research say about the value of our social network?
Oh, I mean, it's huge. That makes all the difference. I mean, you see that even just within like households or families. It's really difficult to make sustainable lifestyle choices when you have the majority of the household not on board with that, right? Because it becomes a point of contention. It can also cost more money because then you have like your grocery bill is going up, incrementally quite a bit because you're buying like different food to fit different like dietary preferences, and people just kind of, or some, maybe you have three people in the house still eating out and there's one person that's buying groceries. So I think it can so easily derail us. And just even that mental standpoint of being like, feeling like, it doesn't matter, or that it can be just so easy to set you back. That's why even for exercise or movement, one of the things I like to remind our members to do is like, hey, like, especially as the weather gets nice, the time of year we're going into, is like, come up with like, challenge each other, whether you want it's a walking challenge or get together and go on walks together or jogs or bike rides. But there's ways just to kind of even make that, your meetings or your time together doesn't need to be just like sitting in a room or on Zoom talking about like what's happening. That works too, but you can also get together and have those same conversations while you're like moving your body and just being outside, enjoying some time together, doing something where it's like, okay, like we're checking all the boxes, but together as a team.
How can we either find a mentor to be our accountability partner for a healthy lifestyle, or if we see someone who is struggling with their health, how can we become a mentor to them in a way that doesn't feel accusatory?
Well, I think it's remembering, like, coming at it from a sincere place of what you do in your own life, not only that you feel like, quote unquote, works, but also things that you truly enjoy. Like for me, almost always, that's why I start with movement. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love food. I love cooking. I create recipes for our Tops News magazine, on like a pretty regular basis. But the reality is movement is such a huge part of my life, and I enjoy it so much in so many different ways. So anytime when I'm talking to someone and they're like, talking about their struggles or challenges, movement's just usually the thing that I lead with, right? Because I also feel like it's one of the easiest factors to kind of like to change your perspective on. And I feel like, and it's also something that I know that I feel 100% comfortable in supporting someone in. So if I have a friend that's nearby me and they're like, wow, like I really, I just had another baby and I just don't feel real super great about myself, or I'm having a hard time getting back to the gym. And it's like, okay, let's get together, let's grab some coffee and we can just like go for a long walk, or let's take our dogs out and go hike on a trail. Those are things. So I feel like it's simple things. It doesn't always have to be, like I said, we're all going to get together and start training for a race or something, So just think about what's already intuitive in your life and what makes the best sense to you. Because I feel like when we come at it from a sincere, just like, where we're not making something else, we're not forcing something on someone. It's more like we're inviting them in to join us with things that we're already doing, and then we're also then creating hopefully a safe space for them to share more with us about what they're really struggling with. Because oftentimes too, it's not just about not wanting to exercise or what they're eating. It could be that there's other stressors going on, right? Like I said, maybe they're not sleeping well, maybe they're stressed out about job, maybe they have a new infant at home, maybe they're they may have parents that are sick, they might be having gotten like a health diagnosis that they're worried about. So a lot of times, that they're like, there are other things going on that are interfering with them being able to, like I said, make some of these choices or changes that they want to.
So we only have enough time for just two more questions. First, Rachel, where can we go to find out more information about you or the things we've talked about here today?
So tops.org, check it out. We've got so many resources online. We not only talk about TOPS as an organization, but you kind of get a sense of how the chapter meetings work and other resources that we have. I mean, we have an extensive recipe library online. We have blogs every month that multiple members. I have a wellness blog that I do once a month on a Wednesday, and then even like the org's chapter president, like Rick Danforth, he has a blog that he also does on a regular basis, and some of the other staff at HQ. So there's tons of resources on the website. Like I said, we're super active on social media. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We even have a Discord channel thread going on. Yeah, so, definitely connect with us online. YouTube, our YouTube channel is completely free to access. I make at least one new recipe demo clip a month online for that. I also have some fitness. Speaking of travel, we have some travel-friendly exercise clips. So if you're looking for just quick things that you can do in a hotel room without any equipment, so like no weights, we've got videos like that. And our YouTube is completely it's not behind like a paid firewall or anything, so you can access all that content for free too.
So last question. You've spent at least, I assume, 20 plus years learning all about nutrition, wellness, and health. And if you were to go back in time and speak with your younger self, now that you've had this journey of learning as much as you possibly can about healthy lifestyles, what might be one thing that you would say to your younger self where you'd be like, Rachel, you're going to learn a lot of things about health and wellness, but this is one thing that if you can get down now, it'll fast track you and everything that you want to do in helping other people get healthy. What would that be?
I think for me it would have been it's not about it's not about the outside, it's not about the weight, it's not about what you look like, it's not about the physical appearance. It's really about what is going to feed you, what's going to nourish you on a holistic level, right? The mental and emotional and physical aspects, they all three are so interconnected. You can't separate them. So that's what I would say. I would say when I was younger, if I go back to my younger self, I was hyper fixated just on the physical, and and I had a lot of health problems for years, that just, not only physical, but also emotionally and mentally too. And it wasn't until I could get a handle on all of those together that I really started to get healthy, truly, in terms of mind, body, and spirit.
All right. Well, we will end it there. We've been talking with Rachel Werner, Topps Nutrition and Fitness Editor. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Matt.
And that will do it today for Community Focus. This is Matt and I wishing you all the very best in Burlington and beyond.